Good morning, guys. Welcome to this Tuesday, January 27th. Last trading week of January. And yesterday was one of those days where the overnight spooked you, and then the day session impressed you. And then now in the overnight, we have a nice little move to the upside still. So continuation. And that's a good sign. So, I mean, we started way down here in the overnight coming into this week. This week is full of stuff. We got earnings report coming out. I just heard Boeing came out with an earnings report. It was actually a beat this morning. They have the big techs reporting this week. You also have a Fed meeting starts today and the announcement tomorrow. So I think it's a bunch of big techs coming out after the close tomorrow as well. So we have a lot of news which potentially could fire the market up up or down. and But so far, it looks like the market is in a good mood and it's taking this higher, even though we have all this stuff potentially happening. Now, in news this morning, we got nothing at 8:30. 9 o'clock, we get Case-Shiller and FHFA housing data. 10 o'clock, we get consumer confidence and new home sales. And Richmond Fed manufacturing. We have some announcements after that, but that's about it. So 5-year auction at 1. 5-year auction. So at 9 o'clock and 10, we get news this morning. Fed meeting begins. Just remember, we have a big week for earnings, and it's going to be probably stuff happening after you'll see the NASDAQ or the ES potentially move after the close and these earnings come out. I think the biggest day potentially could be Thursday after the Fed meeting. You're going to get the reactions on that day, but if you're going to get the big run, usually that happens the next day when people have digested it, and either the market is going to be good mood or bad mood. So starting off today, given the overnight, we'll start from the long side and see if they can run this higher. I would look to buy weakness against that 69.90s, 69.70s. That's our low volume area. And down to that 69.60s. Now remember, 69.70 is that low volume area right there. So that's going to be a reverse retest area. So this support area. And if that comes out and it starts trading below that thing, and they kind of have to take out 60s before they clear that area. So these two areas, the 69, 70, and 60s. If both of them comes out, we'll be right back in that lower range again. So then this whole move to the upside got reversed. But initially, I'm going to look to buy against the weakness again. Look to buy weakness against that 90s, 70s, and the 60s here for rotations back up again. And on the short side, looking for shorts against the 705s, 7015s, 25s, 35s. We are getting up to these upper areas, and but the fact that we're taking out that low volume area, we're heading up into these outer edges. It's a good sign. So it's just be mindful that you're running into resistance here, and either of these resistance areas could potentially hold. It's not like we are in a move out of the middle rally kind of going on right now. We're just still trading in this range. Even if it looks like we are trading higher a couple of days here, we're still just trading in this range, heading back up towards this upper area at the 7,015. It's going to be the most obvious one. Then you have a couple of lighter resistance areas above that. So I would be very cautious when on the long side when you get into these resistance areas. But I would look for short setups, rotations back down. I think the better ones could come at the 5s and the 7,015s. Above that, we maybe have a shot at taking this higher. So it's these two upper areas, the 25 and the 35s, they're pretty light. So I mean, we are just getting into a gray twilight zone of resistance up here. Hard to say where the actual edge is going to be. We have a little bit to lean against when it comes to the 7,015s 15s here. It's at least four times they've been up there. So that's how we get started, and let's see how the day session evolves. We're going to get a nice little rally today before a Fed meeting. That would be a nice sign. It's not quite sure how to interpret that, but it's just going to trade what the market is showing us. And let's keep in mind when you have these big announcements come out. In other words, the Fed meeting coming out tomorrow at 2, and the announcement 2:30. That's going to be a big time. and also after the close going into the trading day, watch the overnights, watch the earnings report if you have access to them, see if there are any negative surprises. You probably see that if you're in your stock portfolio, if you just look at the quote sheet, you'll see if some companies just getting punished. Like then you know the earnings report was bad or not received well. So on the ES, starting off on the long side, at least to get started, and let's see if they're going to buy weakness. Let's see if they can take out the highs and potentially extend. But be mindful, even if it looks like we are heading higher, we are still running right into upper areas of resistance. On the NASDAQ, very similar action going on there. It's interesting because the overnight yesterday was like a straight shot up. It's a slow grind up, but not that normal chop you see. NASDAQ also popping pretty good. And if you look at the capital flow, we are right up here against an area where we could see some significant directional change on the NASDAQ. So up here against this upper area, it took out this the 860s yesterday. We're up here against this upper area at the 26,000s. If that comes out, we may have a shot at the highs. That could be an interesting day. So if you're going to see a rally today, that would be a little bit surprising going into Fed meeting and everything like that. But, you just has to trade what you see, And as long as the market looks like this and they want to take it higher, fine. If this turns into be one of those day session knockdowns, yeah, okay. When they're up against resistance, we know that could be a nice short setting up here at the 26,030s, rotations down. Above that one, the next level up really is going to be the 260s. So you have some areas in between here, but when you get up to that 260 area, quite a bit higher, that's when you really run into that resistance again. So initially looking to buy against the 960s, 930s, 880s, down to the 830s for rotations up. I would say below that 830s, probably taking off. 830s takes us down to this big ledge, right? So if this big ledge comes out, that's going to be this 840 to 890 area. If that comes out and we start retracing here, then I would get back range bound, start looking for a retracement trade down into this lower range again. So that's kind of how we get started on NASDAQ. If they can take out that 26,030s, we got a little bit of a runway heading higher here. So I mean, it's hard to say how strong these are in between. I know that you get to the 220, 250, 260s up here. That's when you get the better resistance hitting. So it could be a nice little run to the upside here on the NASDAQ. We'll see. But starting the ES and the NASDAQ from the long side, given the overnight and the looks like a little bit of optimism in the air. And then let's see how this develops. And then finally, on the bond side of things, I'm not going to waste too much time on it, but it's bond market is an interesting one because it's going to give you a sense for the Fed for how the bond market views the Fed and the overall economy. And you start seeing the bond market moving, that's a good sign that some turbulence is heading our way. But right now you can see we are pretty much in a pretty tight range here in the overnight. We traded back up again from that Greenland debacle. So we're back up here against this attractor area at the 115, a bit above it. I did not take out that 116, the low volume area this time. So they're just kind of holding in this area. But you can see here, they just keep building value around that 115. All the stuff from the last 180 days is kind of dwindling away. We are just getting into a nice D-shaped distribution. TPO wise, volume wise, we have a couple of low volume areas at 116 and that 113.24. Just be mindful of those, but so that's going to stall activity if you run into them. In other words, that's why this 116 stalled right there. It's a low volume area. You need a piece of news to take it out, and that could certainly happen. I mean, we have plenty of news coming out this week for such things to happen. All right, so just trading that range bound, looking to buy weakness at 115. This is 16 to 18. This is 1510 down to the 1506. We're going to sell strength 1527s, 116 even, 11610s for rotations down. So that's pretty much the overall range on the bonds. And you just trade what you see on that guy too. I'm looking for setups. You know what kind of setups I'm looking for. Run the open, run the bond open, run the ES open, run the 11:30 London close. You could see those set up pretty nicely. Could happen in between too, but usually around those time frames is where you see some change in direction. All right, so that's the bonds. Just range bound trading on the bonds. Nothing much with that. With the ES and Nasdaq, we're starting off on the long side. Let's see if this overnight is going to keep going or if the day session is going to flat out knock it down again. All right, guys, we'll wrap it there for now. So good trading, and I will see you guys back at 11:30 for the next update. All right, guys, later.